So I served in the IDF between 2006 to 2012 in an infantry unit called Nachal, the Nachal Brigade. I served there as a combat soldier and did all roles till I made it to command a company, which is about 120 soldiers under my command. I finished my army service in 2012, and starting 2012, I started my reserve duty. In reserves, I used to command an evacuation unit, a special evacuation unit, where my role was to command the team of medics and doctors of the force and lead them to where the soldiers are by making sure we will get there in a secured way, locate the soldiers, have them receive initial treatment, and then evacuate those soldiers to a place where helicopters can land, a spot where helicopters can land, and then those soldiers will be evacuated to a nearest hospital. So in 2014, my unit July 31st, 2014, my unit received a mission to locate an offensive tunnel going from a place in Gaza called Dir el-Balach, all the way to basically the Israeli border, and then reaching to next to a kibbutz called Kisufim, where the purpose of the tunnel was to reach as close as possible to the kibbutz, and the Hamas would have used it to exit right after the border, go into the kibbutz, locate civilians, all soldiers, harm them, maybe take someone inside Gaza, and vanish without being noticed. And I was called to join the force by picking up one of the soldiers there, a group of soldiers. And when we got there, my vehicle received a direct hit from mortar, resulted in the killing of 5 of my soldiers, and I was critically injured from a massive shrapnel damage. I received treatment in the field. I lost a lot of blood in the field, so I was treated, initial treatment, and then I was evacuated to the kibbutz of Kisufim, where the helicopter landed, and then I was rushed into an emergency surgery that lasted 8 hours, where the doctors were able to save my life, despite all of that heavy damage that happened to my inner organs. And then I was connected to respiratory machine for additional 3 more days until I woke up, and then I started my rehabilitation process. So the things I remember is not like it's not like a straight event that I remember. It's like incidents of the event. I remember laying down and somebody reaching to me and puts me on my stomach and takes off my vest and cuts off my clothes and starts to treat my wounds, basically shoving bandages into the exit wounds, trying to stop the blood from going out. I remember images of people lying around, supposedly dead bodies, which my brain did not translate it into people that are dead in that same moment. Only afterwards I understood what I saw. That I told myself that I need to stay awake, not to fall asleep, not to fall down, because if I do, I don't know what will be the outcome. So I tried to keep myself in it for as long as I could. I managed to do so until the helicopter left the ground. And the moment it left the ground, I just lost conscious, and that's all I remember. I remember the helicopter going up in the air, and that's it. That's the last point that I can recall. And then waking up 3 days later. I don't know, just something in me told me that if I will stay awake and if I will stay conscious till I will be evacuated, till I will be in a safe place where they can treat me properly, then everything will be okay. That's what went through my mind. 3 or 4 days later, after I woke up and I was disconnected from the respiratory machines, my family told me, listen, this is the outcome of the event. And then I connected all the dots from what I saw to what actually happened.
So there was obviously an immense physical rehabilitation for you, but also a massive psychological recovery. How did both of those manifest themselves?
So the ability to rehabilitate physically is all about the ability to rehabilitate mentally. They go together. Physical rehabilitation is very hard and very very exhausting, and you are unable to do simple tasks that you were used to do. I'm sorry, but there's an alarm going on. I need to go to the shelter. Physical rehabilitation included learning to do from scratch things that I was pretty much used to do every day, from walking to taking a shower by myself to going to the bathroom. And the mental aspects of that were really difficult, alongside the fact that you've underwent a traumatic event. So it requires the ability to understand it was a traumatic event. Memories will not go away. It will stay in your mind, whatever you do, and it's just something that you need to learn to live with as much as possible.
And what about fighting Hamas in this kind of a war and the current war? What do you remember about this Gaza metro tunnel system? Because you've experienced that firsthand.
So the aspect of a metro that's a new term. That's a new thing. They only started building those tunnels as a metro after 2014, after Operation Protective Edge, and they reached its full potential about in 2021, the last operation Israel had against Hamas, and now they also improved it. Back in 2014, it was a tunnel threat. It wasn't a metro. It was a tunnel threat of specific individual tunnels. There were many of them, but they were not part of a huge metro. They were mainly offensive tunnels. That was the threat, of tunnels going in from the Gaza Strip underneath the Israeli border and going out right next to the Israeli kibbutzim. The villages that are right, the closest to the border, the ones that suffered the major hit on our October 7th. So that was the main threat. Basically, what we were required to do is to locate those tunnels, those entry point or exit points, and destroy it by either bombing it ourselves or instructing the Israeli Air Force to bomb them. And those exit points and entrance points are located anywhere you can think of. Schools, hospitals, clinics, wherever you can think, there's a tunnel, and residential buildings where the basement is used to store ammunition and weaponry. And in one apartment, fighting may take place, and in the other apartment, there are civilians trying to hide from Hamas at first, trying to hide from Hamas because Hamas decided to manage warfare within their residential buildings.
So 2 questions. One, how will IDF soldiers fighting the war now be feeling? You've been in their shoes, you know what's going through their minds. How will they be coping with what's in front of them?
So our soldiers are well experienced, mostly commanders are well experienced with fighting within the Gaza Strip, fighting within that war zone. So Israel always have to find the right balance between shooting on sight and not to engage unless you have that specific threat. Now, Israel has done whatever it can to balance that to the right way, to not harm civilians by asking them to evacuate. And we know that more and more agreed to do it, to evacuate from where fighting take place. But still, there are a lot of civilians over there. I think we're talking about that a few tens of thousands of people that have stayed there out of million people. And the instructions will be not to engage unless you're certain that there's a certain threat.
And how long do you think the IDF can keep going, can keep conducting this war? When will it become an issue in terms of resource and the impact on the rest of Israel?
As long as they need. Israeli civilians are tough. We understand that we cannot live with a terror organization sitting on our border. We saw it. We tried to live that way. I mean, the Israeli government tried to live that way, saying these people want peace. They will not try and harm Israeli civilians, although they have fired rockets at us in many occasions. But we said, okay, we will build defensive systems, and we will live with that threat of rockets. Okay, like there are no casualties due to our Iron Dome. But we have came to understand that, unfortunately, this terror organization will not stop at firing rockets, and it will always try to find new ways to harm us. No one wants a few fronts to be involved in this war, and we hope that all borders will remain silent. But we have a constant threat by Hezbollah in Lebanon, and there have been shootings from Yemen directly to Israel. We know it. Israeli civilians are trained. We know how to run to shelter when we need to, and we're certain that our army will do the job when it is required. Also, eliminating the threat that is up north. I feel proud of the soldiers of Israel. I would have replaced each and one of them. Our men and women are the bravest as you can find. They're fighting for the most righteous cause you can think of. They're fighting for our right to live at our home. They're fighting for the lives of children. They're fighting to rescue kids and adults from what we saw on October 7th to not happen again, ever again. I mean, it's not a revenge, it's not a vendetta. They don't think about we have to revenge the death of those who died. They think about how we will make sure that what happened will not happen again. And I have 100% trust in them, especially in our defense forces, that they will do the job if they're let, if nobody will stop them.